Tom Winterton is here, and he is from Roosevelt, Utah, and has lived in this area his whole life with his family. He is an integral part of the community. He has a construction company, 3 motels, is managing partner in a film production company, and does much, much more for the community. And he also has a lot to do with the ranch. So, Tom, I want to say thank you. This is really a treat. And everyone has been following Skinwalker Ranch. We are excited. There are a lot of myths that have developed over time, and I hope that you can clear up some of those things that aren't necessarily promoted by people that have the best integrity for what all of you are doing at the ranch. So welcome.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me on. And I was surprised that I got permission to do this. So you must have the special touch, I guess. I don't know, but I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you. I really think the world of all of you and everything that you're trying to do, and to have the owner of Adamantium, and to have all of you reach out to me and to make me feel a part of what is going on has been really special. And I don't think that a lot of people who are involved in this research really reach out to people in the community. And I love that all of you have done that. That's really important, and that speaks volumes of the type of people that you are. So thank you. And so for our audience, I want to just ask how you got involved with all of this and working on Skinwalker Ranch.
Okay. Well, when Robert Bigelow sold the ranch and the new management group came in, they actually sent a gentleman out who became the ranch manager. And at the time, my wife and I owned, like you mentioned, we owned several small motels, and one of those happens to be here in Roosevelt. And the gentleman had stopped in on a Sunday afternoon, and I just happened to be there working at the front desk and met him. And the next day when he went to check out, we struck up a conversation, and he found out that I had a contractor's license, and then I was also plugged into the political scene in the local area, and took down my name and number, and a short time later reached out to me, I think a week or two later, and said that they had a few things there on the ranch that they'd like me to look at, and asked if I would be interested in helping them. And so that was how I was introduced to the ranch, and went out there and was able to help them achieve some of the things that they needed to get done. And here I am 3 years later.
And so, I mean, with all of you live in the community. I mean, the community has witnessed all of these strange things going on, and there are, rumors of black Suburbans and, military craft in the area. And I mean, how much of that is true? What's going on up there? And how much can you tell us?
Well, I'll tell you everything that I can without getting myself in trouble. But, as far as the community, the Uinta Basin as a whole, I think, has a large per capita number of sightings. And what you'll find, and what I have found, especially since taking this position on the ranch as the ranch superintendent, is when you start visiting with people, almost everybody has had some kind of sighting if they've lived here very long. And the interesting thing is that you'll get a lot of prominent individuals in the community. These are people, very reputable, very solid, good business people, politicians. And if you can get them by themselves where they're not in the public, and you start talking, what you'll find is most people will open up and share experiences that they have had of seeing things. And it's actually startling how many people have experienced sightings and all the things that you mentioned. Anymore, I think it just, if you haven't seen it, you just haven't lived here very long.
And that is so interesting, because every day I have more and more people contact me. I mean, people that are in the area. I have a family that I've been working with and researching for years, and they live up there 3 generations, and the whole family has had really important, profound experiences their entire life. And so it is truly an interesting place. What interaction have you had, if I can be personal, with whatever's going on there? Have you ever had an experience?
Well, it's interesting. When I was a child, I had an experience, and it was one of those. It wasn't scary. I'd been up late. I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and I was up late, I think, cleaning my room, and it was like 11:30 or midnight. And I looked out my window, and out, there used to be an oil refinery here in Roosevelt, and my bedroom window overlooked that refinery. And I remember looking out, and there was like a half moon, but instead of it was horizontal and not vertical, which was, I kind of thought was strange, but it was beautiful, it was big, and it was just kind of there above the refinery. And I didn't think anything of it, and finished cleaning my room. And when I was done, I thought, I'm going to look at that one more time, and I couldn't see it. And I just figured it was either above the house or it set down below the horizon. I couldn't see it anymore. And I just went to bed. And the next morning when I got up, I had mentioned to my mom, how beautiful the moon was that night. And she just kind of looked at me and said, "That's funny. I don't think that there was a moon last night." And, "Oh, yeah, I saw it." And went and looked at the calendar, and sure enough, there was no moon that night. So whatever I saw was not the moon, but it was big and beautiful, and it did look kind of like a half moon out there above, the refinery. Who knows how far out it was, but that was my first experience of seeing something that was unexplained. And then just 2 years ago, up at my son's scout camp, we were I was up there on the mountain just sleeping in the back of the truck there, and what appeared to be a satellite coming across the sky. And there again, I didn't think anything of it until it stopped abruptly and reversed course and then started zigzagging around the sky. And it lasted long enough. I actually got the other leaders out of the tent, and they poked their heads out of the tent and looked up and watched it and said, what is that?" I have no idea what it was, but we watched it for a few minutes. Then they went back to bed, and I watched it for probably another 2.5 hours. And that was just 2 years ago. And those are my experiences personally off the ranch. Obviously, having come on the ranch, I've been able to be privy to. Obviously, there's been a lot of money spent on the surveillance and the monitoring equipment, and so obviously with the help of that, I've been able to see a lot more with that as well. So.
And it's really incredible. I mean, the effort that all of you are going to look into this, and this is a private funding, and I really appreciate that. And like I mentioned, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to reach out to people that you trust and respect. That means a lot. I mean, it really feels truly like this is a group effort for all of you, and I know that you're doing good work. And I just really quickly, I want to say, when you mentioned that half moon that was horizontal, I had another case a couple of years ago where a man and his daughter were in the Uinta Basin, and they saw the same type of thing. They were on a motorcycle, and this object just hovered, actually followed them along the ridge line. So that's very curious. We'll have to get together and I'll give you some information about that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and so so you're obviously, I mean, you are in the inner circle. You know what the new ranch owners are doing, and you're part of this. What type of, when I had Eric Davis on the show the last time, he had mentioned that there were some things going on at the ranch and people were medically injured, and I'm wondering if, we all know that this is an area where things can follow you home, things can happen to anybody. And so do you have any knowledge or anything that you can tell us about what types of injuries or how people are being affected when they leave the site?
Yeah, so I can speak a little bit to that. When the new owners came on, the first thing that they did was they have spent a lot of money improving the infrastructure on the ranch, including the security and the surveillance. And one of the reasons for that, a lot of people see the security and they think, oh, that's overkill, or what are you trying to hide? There have been multiple serious injuries resulting from exposure to the ranch. And a lot of the security, obviously we have a lot of high-tech equipment on the ranch that we need to be careful and protect. We have a lot of science experiments that are going on. One thing that people don't realize, we always struggle with trespassers and people that are curious and they're trying to sneak on the ranch and get that photograph or who knows what they're trying to do. But the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that we are in constant research mode out there, and the owners have spent a lot of money upgrading all of this equipment. And we've had individuals that have come on and not realizing it have interfered and ruined weeks and weeks of an experiment that's going on. And the scientists have to scrap it and start over again because of that interference. When something happens, they need to be able to be certain that there was not human interference in that and that they can have a controlled environment. So the security has been very important to keep people off, to keep the integrity of the science experiments that are going on. But also the bigger thing, and I think the more important thing is that there have been numerous individuals that have seriously been injured. And we're not talking about ankle sprains or snake bites. We're talking injuries as a result of the exposure to the ranch. And so we try to keep the public out because sometimes until you know what you're dealing with, you have to err on the side of caution. And I know that, in regards to the injuries, there's many of them that they're still trying to understand what happened and what caused it and those type of things. So.
Well, I think too, people, we do see the pictures of the armed security guards and all of these things. And because of that, I think a certain faction has been, people out there who like to misinform the public are probably saying that, this is, some sort of conspiracy and they're the top, forces and demonic presence. I've heard so much garbage, about the reptilian shapeshifters and all of this stuff. And it's like, are you kidding me? These are real people and this is a private property. People, not only, that's a pretty rugged territory out there. And so you've got people who are trying to break into the property and there are people living there. And there's so many security implications. I don't blame anybody for 1 second to make sure that place is fortified.
Yeah, and there's always the intimidation factor. The assault rifles always look mean and menacing, but they do serve a purpose. And what was that? 2 springs ago, I was on the ranch working, and I was on my skid steer doing some work and scared a mountain lion out of a grove of trees just 15 feet away. And it is a rugged area. Last fall, when we were taking the cows off the place, there was bear tracks down on part of the property. And so security takes it very serious. They are going to do everything they can to protect the integrity of the science research. This is private money that's being spent on the ranch. It's not public dollars. And so every one of those dollars is a hard-earned dollar, and it's important that we try to stretch them as far as they can go. And so there has been a lot of money spent on the security just because if you're $45,000 into an experiment and somebody flies a drone or sneaks in on the property and ruins the experiment, you have to start over, that's a huge waste of dollars, and it's money that could have been spent to further the investigation. As far as the shapeshifters and all of that stuff, if that's going on, we would love to, that's what the science is there for. We'd love to figure out what exactly it is and what's going on. But we're just regular people trying to further science and further understand the environment and, what else is out there.
Well, and I have to ask you because a lot of the, we have people that say that this place is a portal and all these things are being activated. And I mean, of course, I have witnessed things. I know that there are things going on, and we've got Skinwalker Ridge where one scientist, specifically, I think Dr. Jacques Vallée, had mentioned that that's perhaps a place where these objects come in and out of. But is this portal technology? I mean, tell us about that. I think there's a bit of exaggeration when it comes to that.
Well, I just want to be honest here. When I've grown up in the basin, going to high school, I heard the myths about the ranch. You hear the lore around town and read it in the local newspapers. Skinwalker Ranch has always been a big deal around here. That being said, even to this day, I've never watched a single Skinwalker movie. I've never read any of the books. I have to go out there and work, and there's many nights that I'm out there, depending on what's going on. I will be out there at 1:30, 2 a.m. in the morning. And so I didn't want to fill my head with tales that could scare me and make it hard to be out there late. And I have to say, when I first was asked to go out there, I was excited because the entire time growing up, that ranch has been completely shut off and off limits. And the prospect of being able to go on to this top secret, highly guarded ranch was appealing. And so I thought, yeah, of course I'll go on. I do believe in UFOs. Like I say, I obviously saw something when I was a kid. I have some family members that are in military intelligence that have, they share little things that, hey, if you knew what we had, you wouldn't believe it. So UFOs, I've just assigned those to, some kind of drone or some kind of experimental military aircraft that we haven't been privy to know about yet. So the UFO thing I bought, the paranormal, the portals, the skinwalkers, the shapeshifters, all this paranormal stuff, I called BS on it. And I have to say that my personal experience after being out there for, it's been 3 years now, almost exactly. I have to say I've got an open mind, and I have personally witnessed, and I've been with people that have personally witnessed out there. We're talking about very credible, very grounded people. We've all witnessed things that, as of to date, we can't explain, and so as far as getting in and saying that this is not true or that's not true, I'll just say that we've definitely witnessed a lot of activity. I've read people's reports that say that, it's died down or it doesn't happen anymore. The ranch is very active, and we are witnessing a lot of things. I had an experience just last night at 12:30 a.m. Well, I guess it was this morning at 12:30 a.m. And things are very much going on. As far as what they are, I'm probably restricted in being able to expound on that very much, but I will just say that there is a lot of activity. And for a person that called BS on paranormal, I've come around to thinking, well, maybe there's more to this than what I thought. And what it is, I haven't come to conclusion yet. I don't think any of us have, but there is definitely something going on.
Well, and I was out there. I didn't know you know this, but and I think I've talked a little bit about with my listeners when I went out to interview Junior Hicks, and then I went out to a location out there in the basin, and it was the things that I witnessed were absolutely staggering. And I've been working with different people to try to verify, okay, was this something mundane? Was this something that just being in the area and hearing all these things that I perhaps could be projecting all of this, but I, at the end of the day, I don't know what I saw. It was very curious, and that whole area is really a hotbed of activity, and it makes me really happy to know that people like you are on the property and you're taking care of it, because I really think it's a special place. And a lot of people don't understand that, and they want to, break onto the property and disrespect it. And in fact, when I was out there on the fence line, I mean, I could see beer bottles scattered around, and it's just, to me, this is a very sacred and special place, and it deserves to be respected. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and I've got some great questions in chat. We're going to take a break right now. I'm Erica Lukes here with Tom Winterton. We're talking about the Skinwalker Ranch. We will be right back.
Stand by.
This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
With Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
If ever a breed was affectionate to a fault, it's the Golden Retriever. They're people dogs, pure and simple. And the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada needs your help. If you would like to volunteer, foster, adopt, or donate, go to the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada's website at grrsn.org. That's grrsn.org. Or call 598-GOLD. That's 598-GOLD.
You love them enough to do anything for them.
Dad, can we make 200 cookies for my bake sale tomorrow?
Let's do this. Including checking nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We interrupt this program to annoy you and make things generally irritating.
At the end of the day, we turn the lights down in the KCOR studio.
Oh, sweet.
And crank up the hottest club songs from around the world.
This is the future.
The Grind, mixed by Tina Marie, your Vegas vixen of the high desert.
What about the body? What kind of body? Good body. Nice body.
Every night from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Pacific. The best 3 hours of commercial-free music.
New music first.
It's time to stand up and dance your ass off. The Grind, nightly and exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Come on, it's kind of hot.
30 seconds and counting.
Broadcasting to you from another planet, beaming you a world of entertainment.
This is the world-famous KCOR. Now listen live online at KCORradio.com.
I like everything about this station.
When do I listen? Like 24 hours a day.
It's my favorite station. I just love the music. It keeps me going at work.
There is a world outside that which we live in, a realm where fact and fiction collide. The Paradigm Matrix. The Paradigm Matrix. Hosted by Willie Miranda. Every Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us, even now in this very room.
The 1 hour show that will surely leave you hanging on the edge of the rabbit hole. The Paradigm Matrix explores a universe of topics from UFOs, cryptozoology, conspiracies, as well as all things paranormal.
Enter a world of the twisted and deformed.
Friday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. The Paradigm Matrix. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network, where fact and fiction collide.
You're listening to
UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts.
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
Welcome back to UFO Classified. Tonight has been a very special night for me because I have had Dr. Eric Davis on, who doesn't usually do interviews, and now I've got Tom Winterton, who has never done an interview with regard to Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalker Ranch is a unique and special location that everybody around the world knows about. It doesn't matter if they know about the paranormal. I ask people about it, and they've always heard about this place. It was purchased by Adamantium 3 years ago, and since that time, there has been a lot of speculation about the motivations of ownership, what's going on, and so it really is a privilege to have Tom on tonight, who is a local businessman and a really important member of the community. He is here offering great insight, and we were talking before we went to break about your experiences when as a child and then just recently and the multiple injuries that have been sustained at the ranch. And thank you for sharing that. You had a sighting just last night. Can you talk about that? Or you had an experience?
Yeah, I can't go into it much. Okay. It's been turned over to the science, and they'll go through their routine with it. But I guess the thing is that things are still happening, and that's important because, as you know, in the science community, that really helps when things can reoccur or when you continue to have activity, because it can help narrow in, on what's going on. So. But yeah, it's very much still active. I will attest to that.
And so when, there have been a lot of people say that when they visit the property or the surrounding area for that matter, that whatever this is seems to follow them home. Have you had any experiences with regard to that? I know it was mentioned by other people that Bigelow and perhaps George Knapp had things follow them home.
Yes. Let's put it this way. It would appear that is the case because in the last 3 years, we have had so many strange occurrences around our home that I do not remember having before the ranch. And, I'll give you one example. It was, matter of fact, it was right at the beginning of this year, January, probably like January 4th or 5th. I had ran out to the ranch in the morning to do just a quick checkup for the scientist, and I got back home that morning about 8:30 a.m. I pulled in the driveway. It was a very, very cold morning. It was below zero. I want to say it was like 10 or 11 below zero. Really cold. I pulled in front of my home and got out of my car, went in the house. I turned my car off, and my car has one of those key fobs that as long as you got it in your pocket, you can turn the car on, you can roll down the windows, you can do those things. But I came in the house, and I was in my bedroom for probably close to an hour when my son came and knocked on the door and said, "Dad, your windows are down in your car." And I thought, what the heck? And so I looked around, and my key fob was in here on the dresser in my bedroom, which is quite a distance from the car. And I've since tried this a dozen times. Just when these things happen, you think my first thought is I imagined it, or I'm going crazy. And so my key fob, like I've tried a dozen times, I literally have to be standing almost against the car for it to register with the car. But my key fob, and I've only got one. I grabbed it, I went outside, and sure enough, all 4 windows in my car are down. And I thought, what the heck? So I rolled them up, and I immediately went in, and I do have, because of the ranch and because of all of these crazy things that have happened, I invested in a home security system. And so I do have the exterior of my home under video surveillance. And I went in and I looked, and sure, you can see me pulling in the driveway, and sure enough, I parked the car, all the windows are up. I come in the house, and right around 9 o'clock, about 10 after 9, The one camera that catches the car goes out. Now, the other 7 cameras on my system continue to roll normally. That one camera goes out. But the interesting thing is right before it went out, all the lights on my car flashed, and then the camera goes out, and the camera is down for about 10 minutes, and when it comes back on, all the windows are down. And not any of the other cameras even so much as flinch. And I checked the cameras because I do have the full perimeter of my home covered by video. There was no cars that went by, no people that, I mean, it was 11 below zero. There was nobody outside, but no cars passed. I live out on a rural part. There's not a lot of traffic anyways. But that was one case where how the windows got down, I have no idea. Why the lights flashed, I have no idea. You know, the key fob wasn't even in my pocket. It was sitting there in my room, and that's one that I'll share with you. We've literally had dozens. Matter of fact, like I say, enough strange things started happening that I went and invested in a home security system because I wanted to figure out what's going on. And to be honest, you know, it wasn't until recently that I put it together and started thinking, I wonder if these things are following me home from the ranch. I didn't automatically assume that. It's only been the last couple months that I started to wonder, I wonder if this is following me home. And it's one of those things where I look back, hindsight, and it does seem to correspond with about the time I started working at the ranch that we started having these strange things happen. So I would say that it's definitely a possibility.
And I like your answer, and thank you for sharing that story. I know when I have been out in that area and have come home, I've had some very interesting things like what you were mentioning with your experience happen. A lot of electrical malfunctions and things like that. So it is curious. And you also, for me, I mean, I've been to different sites with a lot of activity in Arizona, Norway, the Uinta Basin, and sometimes you do come home and you feel affected by something. Sometimes it's oppressive. I don't know how to explain it, but it's very interesting. Do you, since you started working at the ranch, I mean, do you feel that your family has been affected by this, and do you ever worry about any of the repercussions from going onto the ranch with regard to your family?
Yes. Yes, I do worry. My wife and I have both been worried multiple times. When I first started there, because I didn't view the ranch, I guess because of my disbelief in the paranormal and, this woo-woo stuff, as people say, I used to I have 3 sons, and I'd take them out there and they would help me work. And we had enough things. I'm trying to, like I say, I apologize. There's just a lot of things I can't go into, but
absolutely.
There have been enough things that have happened that, yes, it's always a concern, and it's to the point now that I do not take my kids out there, and my wife and I do sometimes worry about it. You know, we've tried to do and implement things here at our home as a safety measure and as a safeguard, the surveillance system being one of those, just because there is enough things that have happened that do cause concern. And it's one of those things that it just points back to the fact that the ranch is definitely a piece of ground to be respected and to be. I've gotten to the point that I hold it in reverence, and I have a high level of respect for it and what could occur. And so, yeah, anytime you have a level of respect like that, there is a level of concern that accompanies it. And so we do take a lot of safeguards now that we haven't taken in the past. So it's something that has definitely caught our attention.
Well, that's good, and I think people need to be aware of that. I know, back in my 20s, when I started having paranormal things happen in my life, I mean, you're arrogant, and you think, okay, I'm just going to go out there and poke the bear and do all of these things, and you really fully don't understand what you're dealing with. And so you get yourself into a lot of situations, and you might use occult practices, which we've heard about from a lot of different sources, that people are sneaking out of the ranch, or they're in that area, and they are using some of these occult rituals, and they're trying to conjure things up. And I do not understand for the life of me why anybody would want to do that. But, you do have a bit of arrogance, because it's not like you can touch this. It is so elusive that you think you're okay.
Yeah. Well, and we've been programmed that, if you believe in this stuff, you've got a tinfoil hat on, and you're living in an Airstream trailer out in the Mojave Desert. And so there's this level of programming that's taken place through the normal media and through just the regular culture that we live in, that I think programs us to just say, well, that's stupid. That was just a coincidence that happened. And that's the way I was at the beginning, is when things started to occur, I thought, well, that's a coincidence, or this could have caused that. And I wrote it off, and I was arrogant. And I have seen several individuals who have had reason to be out on the ranch that have come out with that attitude. And some of the injuries that we talk about, some of these injuries have happened to the most serious injuries have happened to the people that are most arrogant and blatant on their, they come on the ranch kind of with an attitude of, nothing's going to hurt me here, and then end up paying for it in a severe way. And so my attitude's completely changed from that, and it is definitely someplace to be respected.
And I have to ask you, because I've heard different things, and people have different experiences. Some people feel that this area is a place where you can go, and if you're really projecting positive thoughts, that good things will happen. In Hunt for the Skinwalker, there was a story about a fellow that wanted to come out on the property and meditate, and he was subsequently scared out of his mind. And so, I mean, is there anything that would be benevolent, or are there any positive attributes of this location or the area, the Uinta Basin?
Oh, absolutely. I tell people even a lot, that ranch, it's almost like a living, breathing, I don't know if you call it entity, but there are some days out on that ranch where it is the most peaceful, beautiful, serene, calm place on earth. I love it because I go out there. I can't get cell phone service on the ranch. It sits right against that bluff, and it's really hard to get a cell signal. And so for me, it's really a place of refuge where I can go out there. My phone's not going to ring. Nobody's going to bother me. And there's many days out there on the ranch where it is just calm and serene. And I've had several very, what I'll call spiritual experiences, I guess, or enlightened experiences out on the ranch. And then there's the days that it's less than serene, and it's dangerous. And you never know when I show up, you never know. I guess I shouldn't be mean, but it's almost like being married to my wife. You come home, you're just not sure whether which personality you're getting, right?
Right. Well,
that's
a
happy,
relationship.
Sweet, or if I had done something that day to mess it up, I'm going to come home and be in trouble. So when you go on the ranch, it is a lot like that. You're not sure which personality you're going to get that day, whether it's going to be the calm one or whether it's going to be the one that's not in a good mood to see you. So.
Do you think that there are, and I don't know if you can talk about this, but are there specific places where the activity seems to be most prevalent?
That's a great question, and I'll just answer it by saying, yes, there are, but then there comes the question of, are they hot spots because they're hot spots, or are they hot spots because that happens to be where we have the most monitoring and the most equipment? And so because we're monitoring it so heavily, and because we have all of this surveillance and high-tech equipment to pick things up, we're obviously catching more. And in the back of my mind, I've wondered, if we have that same level at different locations around, would we pick up the same things, or is it just that is a hot spot in itself? As far as the ranch goes, for whatever reason, I think it's interesting. If you look at the topographic map of the Una Basin, the ranch sits almost dead center in the bottom of it, of this bowl. And so I don't know, and that's one of the things I know the scientists are looking at is, does geography play a role? If so, what does it do? And so the ranch, for whatever reason, seems to be kind of an epicenter for it. But I do wonder in my mind too, if we have so much money has been spent on the monitoring it, that obviously we would hope to catch something, because we have put so many resources into observing and capturing it.
We hear a lot of talk about people that are antennas or experiencers. Is there more activity that seems to surround somebody that experiences things, or is it just it just depends on the day of the week, and you need to consult your astrologer to figure out what's going on?
That's a great question in and of itself, because we actually have several people associated with the ranch that have never, ever had a personal experience there. And then there's others that tend to have a high frequency of occurrences. And you could, so my skeptical mind, and that's just who I am, my skeptical mind goes to, well, yeah, of course, you've got this guy over here that's logical and reasonable, and you got this guy over here that's wearing a tinfoil hat. Of course the tinfoil hat guy's going to see a lot of stuff, right? He's like imagining it, or he's watched one too many sci-fi movies. And yet, when you look at the individuals that tend to be what you said is a lightning rod for that, there doesn't seem to be any, from what I've noticed. Now, I hope everybody understands that maybe one of the reasons I was granted permission to interview you is I'm the ranch superintendent. So I am not one of the scientists, and I don't have the full range of data in front of me like they do. But so they may have, and also because of that, I'm having to pick and choose very carefully what I say. There's a lot that I can't say. But me as the ranch superintendent, not the scientist, taking a look at the individuals that tend to have a high frequency and occurrence of experiences versus those that haven't had any, you'll look at them and you're thinking, that person's a solid, grounded person, and you look across the range of people that tend to have that. And the other interesting thing is that a lot of these now are, not only is the person having this experience, but we're also catching the data on all of our equipment to back it up. So it's not just a eyewitness account anymore that says, oh, I saw this. We also have it on camera, and we have it on the seismic, or all the different monitors that they have. We're picking it up to back it up. And so we know that these individuals aren't just spouting off a story. So, and the other thing is that we're all under strict NDAs, and so the people who are having these experiences aren't even really able to talk about them. So it's not like we're doing it for fame and fortune either. So, but there does seem to be some individuals that have a lot, and some individuals that have spent a lot of time out there that have never had any. So.
Oh, and that's interesting, and thank you for clarifying that. And like you say, you're not a scientist, you're the superintendent, you're the caretaker of the ranch. And I know that you feel like I do, or like a lot of people do, about that area or the ranch. This is a very special place, and it deserves reverence. It deserves to be guarded in a way and protected because people don't understand. None of us know what's happening there. And so I just want to throw this out there that people who feel like they're going to trespass on the property or fly drones over the area or do things like that, I mean, I would think again and think about whether you want to help research in a positive way or you want to have 5 minutes of fame on YouTube. I don't know. Yeah. But that's got to be frustrating for you. You know what I mean? Because you're always encountering people like that just want to come onto the ranch and they don't understand the lengths to which Adamantium and all of that your family have gone to try to further this cause.
Yeah, well, and I will just say, I don't know how things were in the Robert Bigelow era. I'm not going to speak to that. And I can also say that I appreciate the fact that there's been multiple owners of the ranch, and each owner tends to have a different approach of how to approach the ranch, how to monitor it. I am so excited for the new management's style. It resonates with my style, and that style is, one, they're very transparent and very meticulous in how they are collecting this. And there's an honest, I read online a lot of the comments, and there's always the conspiracy theorists, and they're trying to figure out the intentions and the motivations of those that are behind the ranch. And I'll just say that the management group, the science group, all the what we call the ranch family are honest seekers of truth, and they have no intention other than to try to figure out, really we're trying to figure out the three basic questions that everybody wonders. Where did we come from? Why are we here? And where are we going? And, is there other life out there? And they have honest intentions, and there is a high level of respect among all of them for the ranch. And so I'm proud to be associated with this group, and I'm excited to see as this new group has taken more of an observation type look. I'm getting to the point I can't speak. Observation viewpoint where it's kind of let's sit back and observe and see what the ranch wants to show us, rather than the poke and prod method. Not that there's wrong with either one, but this new management group is more of a high level of their respect for the ranch, and let's sit back and see what the ranch wants to show us. And I'm proud to be part of such a group.
And absolutely, and I'm very grateful that you have, come on the show and granted this rare interview. That means the world to me. And I want to ask, because we've got just 1 minute to show close. Do you feel that there are? I mean, are there people from the military or intelligence that are monitoring the ranch that you know of? I know that's going to be a loaded question. You probably can't answer that, but is the ranch an area of interest?
I can't blame you for asking it. It's one that I'm going to have to just say no comment on.
Okay. And that is awesome. And I want to say thank you. This has been, honestly, one of the highlights of my career, doing this and knowing that you and people at the ranch respect me, and I love that, and I respect all of you. You do a wonderful job, and I wish you the best, and I will support you any way I can, because I know all of you, I've met you, and you are very, very good human beings who are truly trying to get to the bottom of this. And so I just thank you, Tom, for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.